Hello, how are you? I have a video. Well, I'm making a video. I have a journal to record for you. But before I do that, I wanted to share something. We're so often discontent with now. We're off in the future with what we want, the next thing, the next good deal, the next thing to make us feel good, whatever that is. Putting awakening off into the future as if it was something that had to be waited for, and it's not. Or off in the past, most often berating ourselves over this or that, something we didn't say just right, something we wish we hadn't done, or we wish someone else hadn't done, yada, yada, yada. It goes on and on. But either way, it's no good. I think it's equally no good whether you're in the future or the past, because now is the place of your enlightenment, of your awakening, of yourself, of your present vision, of your inner tuition, your intuition. And now is the place where your guidance arises. And it's good to be with that. And I'm reminded, I don't remember the exact words of the saying anymore, but it goes something like, you're rich if you're content with what you have. And I wonder, how content are you in your now? What if this was it? This was all there was ever going to be, just this, no more, just this. Can you find a place of contentment with that? It's not likely very easy because we get so plugged into the mind, and the mind is all over the place. Any place but here and now, you know. It wants to be off adventuring and exploring, and it's always over the next horizon, over the next hill. There's something better, something better. Well, there's not. There's just not. And that's a way that you are manipulated. It's a way that you are swept and chased out of your now, because we can't have you being in now. Oh my God, you might awaken. You might commune with your inner self, your higher self. We can't have that, you know. And so the plot thickens, and they try. And the ones working against us, I kind of hate to bring this up, but it's the case. They haven't had their DNA tampered with. And right now I'm talking about the off-planet beings. I'm not talking about beings who are incarnate here, because I think there's a force field that we've been dealing with, that's been a grid set up around the earth to help keep us disconnected from self, from our memories, that kind of thing. And that's part of the matrix, and that's part of what's breaking down now as the matrix of light is woven instead, as Gaia is healed, as we are healed on the inside. It's coming from the inside out. But anyway, they have their full complement of DNA and full access to the full brain, not just a 10% or something. And so it's an unequal playing field, the mind. Now, this is my perspective on it. You have your own, and I champion not only that you have your own, but that your own be different from mine, because that's how we strengthen one another. If we weren't different, then what's the use of having different individuals? Together, we are woven to make that which is the whole that I am, that all can say, I am that I am, the whole that is, or all that is, that ever was, and that ever will be. Since all time is now, that's a very accurate way of, I don't know, it's just accurate. Okay, so that might be a good thing to plop down in the heart, because likely it doesn't take right away. There's too much fighting against it, this being content with what one has in the now. Only that, letting go of all of the dreams, the ideals, the hopes, the fears, the the regrets, the all of it. Just to let it go, because until you do, you've never really been in your now. Can you see that? You're smeared out like a peanut butter sandwich, you know, you're all over the place. Well, yes and no. That's mind, and mind does that. Yeah. And so we've got mind at the conscious level, and then we've got everything that's there, subconscious and unconscious. That's what's really steering the show. And so we're working with that. And I think a very good reason, we don't need a reason, but let's say a very good result of all of the experiences that we go through, that we put ourselves through, remember, we volunteered for this, is to highlight for us, to show us in the mirror of self, which is what the external world is, what's lurking underneath, what needs to be dealt with, what is up in your now is what's right there before you. And so we have this fantastic assistance to get in there and excavate those old beliefs, those things that are tripping us up. And all of life acts as an awakening system when we're centered in heart. That's where the command post has to be. That's where we plug in. I don't know. How else do I say this? Just be in heart. And not the pump, just the center of the chest area. I don't know. It might be kind of in the area of the thymus, which is somewhat higher up, you know, maybe just below where my necklace rides. But I don't know, you know, it's just that your inner self knows all these things, and all you have to do is have a pretty good idea and kind of move in that general direction, and then your inner self will take over. It's like that Bagger Vance, you know, what was the name of that? Oh well. The body knows more than the mind, and we just have to let go and step into the field and let it flow with us, and we flow with that, and you merge until there's not a this and a that, and this is how we step into the oneness of that which is. And so it's one, even in its individuality, even in its uniqueness, it is still all woven and knit together in the oneness. And one of the doorways in is to be content with what you have in the now. Okay, now I have it was a very enjoyable journal, quite a ride. It's called Guide Introduces Self, Story of False Visions. And so, what kind of glasses are you looking through? What kind of world are you seeing? What's your perspective? What's your vision on things? It can be kind of fun, you know? Are you tripping out? Are you hiding behind a mask? What are you doing there with your sight, with your vision? How is it coloring your reality? And I'm going to show you, and this is a favorite pair for me, so we'll just go with this. This journal is from 12/9 of 2010, the first of that day. Mayan day was 2 Earth. Okay, this may be a rather odd journal. I start it because I may be coming into, I may be beginning to have communication with my guide or guides. I really don't know. Things are changing for me though. I'll have to find a new way to say that. It seems I'm always opening the journals that way. It's a bit tricky to explain, but not to those who themselves are tuning into this. The constant and increasing tempo of the flow of personally experienced change. Anyway, I'm getting braver, I guess, because I set the intent to now be open to establishing this cross-dimensional contact with my guides. Well, I'll limit it to that for now. Yes, I am wanting to break down the barriers of limitation of the five senses. Begin perceiving some of the more that is available in the structure of documented reality that the five senses don't normally allow us to perceive. So I set that intent, spoke it aloud, made it plain. Now, as I sit watching a documentary on the near-death experiences, one of many I have queued up, I'm feeling guidance, the presence of one interacting with me. So I've stopped to record some of this, just to log it. I don't know anything much more than I've written here. This is quite new. There's something else too. There's an inner feeling of a sort of solidity. It's almost like I'm more of me somehow. Like maybe I've downloaded more of the real I, whatever that is. It leaves me feeling more solid, more real, and more expanded at the same time. Odd. I'm getting the sense that I'm being shown something of the reasons behind why I incarnated here. There was a mission, a certain group of souls I was sent here to serve and support. They're stubborn cases, some of them. I guess that could be why I had to be stubborn as well, to understand from the inside what it was like. As a light being, from the realms of light, we don't see clearly into these things. Oh, we can see into them, yes, but not with sufficient understanding to generate real empathy. Things look so different from those light realm perspectives. It's not easy to identify with just being man. So we volunteer for yet another DNA skin suit, take another dip in the ocean of 3D, another ride. I am ready to know more now. I get the sense of that. Yet it is important that certain not knowings be maintained. I'm here to serve a certain population, and this is no time to be throwing caution to the wind and just digging into the fullness of who and what I am, all that I know. That must come stepwise so that it offer the biggest benefit to those around me. That's what I'm about here. That's the service I bring, bringing others along with me as I open up, as I awaken. How interesting this is. I'm feeling different, so different, and yet still so very much I. More solid, more confident, more sure, becoming aware even of how it is I who am hiding things from the conscious I. What a new twist this is. It's one thing to theorize about it, another entirely to begin to experience it. Wow. Well, I'll just be careful and cautious all the same. Let me share with you why. I'll be careful about believing anything, any thoughts. Staying unattached from believing them is what keeps our wings in flying shape and order. We hit the ground hard and begin to dig in when we start vesting belief in any thoughts. Recently, I've been serendipitously taken to two particular videos on the web that were somewhat stunning, especially one. The NDE, or near-death experience topic, has always seemed to light my joy fires. When we're in emotion of any kind, really, we're touching light, touching spirit, contacting soul. It's a good thing, yet it still pays to be alert. So, in the first one, it was a minister in one of those mega large California churches. He was speaking of his own experience, called himself a pastor, not of an NDE, but it might as well have been. It was one of the most real and lucid visions I have ever been blessed to hear. As the story started out, and he was a good storyteller, he kept it interesting, painted the picture well. I couldn't tell whether this was a real deal or not. By that I mean that based on our beliefs, we can both create and participate in some of the most real seeming scenes that could be imagined and beyond, and never even know they're not real. Remember, they have hologram technology. Remember that 100% of their brain? But I get ahead of myself. Let me go back. So, this pastor is keeping the huge congregation. I mean, it was so big, quite spellbound as he reels out his tale. While kneeling in prayer on the floor of his hotel room, right near where a conference was being held, he was taken up. He thought possibly bodily, it was so real, told he had an appointment with God. Yep, an angel came to take him to his appointment with God, right at the throne. He spun a riveting tale of the landscape, the people he saw and met, some he talked to, and the experiences he had along the way. He kept getting diverted, wanted to stop and talk to Solomon, then Jesus, then King David. Yes, he was being given a tour of heaven. Was even shown the house there prepared just for him. This was in 3D, Technicolor, and then some. Very detailed vision and memory. He told a great tale. He described sensations, heavenly winds, emanations of beings, colors, and a great detail of the sensations of particular things. This man could be an author. His story was fascinating as it went on. He described things that were so awe-inspiring, so overwhelming, so almost unimaginable that it was as if he were painting pictures for you. He made it so real. It wasn't until he was a bit better than halfway through that I began to suspect he was party to one of those false visions, the kind based on belief, not on absolute reality. I wasn't sure, but as he continued, I became convinced. Now, I can't tell you the things that convinced me or how that felt very well. They were inner processes too deep for extraction by mind like that. I just knew. As I continued watching him tell the rest of his story, I looked at the huge audience, at the rapt attention, the transfixed expressions on so many faces, some who had tears of sincerity falling. And I was amazed. Amazed that such a craftily told story should have all this power to deceive, to convince. What I was seeing was the kind of thing George Kavasilis has spoken of, the power of the imposter light beings to create massive shows and displays that are so real that it is hard not to be taken in, to believe. I saw them, the deceivers, at work here, crafting this whole vision. I saw behind the scenes how they selected this pastor of this very large church. Great storyteller he is. The congregants all hung on every word. This false hierarchy created this alternate vision, this fantastic landscape he was taken to be magnificently convincing to him. He never thought once to question, to wonder if it was the real deal or just an angel in disguise. He never saw all the ego involved in his vision, never once doubted its veracity, its validity, never questioned, or if he did, he didn't share that. It's no shame or fault of his that he fell for this, really. It was just too magnificent, too custom designed based on his personal beliefs. Who wouldn't be honored and amazed to be treated as he was, to have those experiences? It is a bit frightening to see the display they put on, the power and immensity of the energy invested in that, however it's done. And I suspect it's a hologram. An interactive hologram is easy work to advanced technology like that of many alien races. So he was overcome by what appeared to his senses, trusting that, not suspicious at all. I saw that, saw it as a weakness. Not to fault him, again, just logging what I saw. Now I'm going to step out of the journal for a minute and say, I see now that he trusted it so much because they had gotten him used to trusting them. He was dealing with some false beings that had convinced him that they were true. And so he recognized the vibrations of the ones that came for him. And that's partly how we're taken in. Okay, back to the journal. I came away from that video stunned. The immensity of the show that was put on for this pastor was intense. They invested a lot of energy in him. They must have been pretty sure of a big payoff. I had to stop watching, though, for the way he went on after telling the story, haranguing the congregants. If I had any doubt about the veracity of my perceptions, they were cleared up by his after story actions and words. Now, I can't again tell you how I knew or know all of this. I just do. Intuition would be a correct way to explain it, so let's stick with that. What heart gives me to share of it, I will. More isn't accessible to me now. So here was this soul, this pastor, so completely taken in by this vision that was based on his beliefs. He believed what he saw. He saw what he believed, never questioning any of it, just taking it in. Then, a day or two later, I was watching another NDE story, and a similar thing happened. Not nearly so grand. I doubt I'll ever see anything so grand as that pastor's experience. If you run into it on the web, you'll know. Sorry, I'm not going to go back and look for the link to it. But this was a similar thing. Again, this person was treated to a vision he didn't question at all. He was taken to hell. He was shown how the demons and devils torture beings in the pits of hell, intently describing in vivid detail the litany of sufferings he and others went through there. Again, the audience was rapt with attention. Excuse me, I see that my little gem is lagging behind. Let me close a program or two, give the computer some more memory to work with, and see if that won't help. Bye-bye, Skype. Okay. Again, the audience was rapt with attention. They were feeding the dark ones behind the scenes. They were radiating fear, a favorite dish of the dark ones. But of course, this one was, on the surface of it, easier to spot as a fake, as a vision based on belief, on religion, not on truth. Overall, though, the lesson for me was the same. It was to look at how easily we fall, based on belief, into scenarios that fit in well with those beliefs. As we become attached to beliefs, as we identify with them, it becomes easier and easier to trick us, to lure us in, reel us in, milk us and others of our energy, thus feeding the dark force. Ah, that's it. I'm being shown, at least in part, how the dark side milks the herd. In particular, I'm being shown how this is done through paranormal stories and experiences. Okay, I see. As I was seeing these things, though it would be a challenge to describe my inner state and the understandings I was having and being given, I was stunned and respectful of the ability of the dark side to deceive. Yes, I saw how we set ourselves up for this based on the beliefs that we hold, but still, even so, they can put on one hell of a show. I was internally being amazed at my ability to spot the fraud. I was giving thanks for this because the clues were so subtle. It was all so very believable. It's amazing how reality can be manipulated, how the sheeple can be herded based on the five sense reality, which isn't reality at all. Remember, atoms are empty space. You fit in a thimble with room for others besides. So, I must say, I was being shown these things. I had been guided to these videos, and I was being taught without realizing that as I watched. I see the work of my guides there. And thank you, dear guides. I am grateful. Help me see and perceive you and your work more and more clearly. I'm ready for two-way participation here, in the conscious mind or the heart. You know what I mean. As I looked at the huge megachurch congregation, at those rapt faces there, I knew the futility it would be to try to show any of them that the pastor's tale was a plant by the dark side. It wasn't real. He wasn't seeing real angels and saints, but just imitations. Their belief was tremendously strong, growing stronger by the minute as the tale spun along. Thousands upon thousands of people are stuck like that in a belief system that has them under such control, able to be manipulated that way. They don't know it, though. They wouldn't believe you if you showed it to them, laid it all out. They're believers and proud of it. They're very sincere, lovely souls. They have been armored against truth. The energies such churches and gatherings provide to feed the dark force, well, that too is stunning. It's immense. As their emotion is whipped up by the preaching, the stories, they willingly feed it the energy of their intensely focused attention stream. That is all taken up by the dark side, that energy. There's nothing real or holy there to receive it. It's all based on lies. That's not worshiping God. That doesn't reflect on Jesus or the holy ones that the religions were once based on either. That's just what much of modern day religion has become. With the other man preaching his tale of being taken to hell, it was patently obvious that what was being milked from his audience was just plain simple fear and dread. He paints vivid pictures of personal suffering in hell, scattered so thickly throughout with Bible verses to reinforce the truth of what he says. Amazing, that interweaving, lending all of his experience the authority of biblical verses. Now, I think that one was called 23 Minutes in Hell. I am seeing the energy capture systems they have set up to take up and process the masses, the huge flow of congregational energy given off through these services and lectures. They have ways of storing it, at least for short periods, I would bet. It's much too much to consume all at once. Oh my God, amazing. Okay then, dear guide. Where does my mission come into all of this? Obviously, not to go out and do anything direct about this or at these types of venues. I am being shown, taught, and educated about some of the behind the scenes activities of the dark forces. This is part of their unveiling, their unmasking. Much more of this sort of revelation will be coming out. Okay, I'm all for that, of course. Teach on. Actually, the body is getting a bit tired of typing. Pain again. Oh well. Anyway, I am glad to have anchored this much of what I have been shown. I just begin to see now how you have been working with me all along, behind the scenes of 3D, but your help still very present with me. I guess you are content so much of the time to have people believe that it is just their bright thoughts or imagination, their intuition or inspiration that brings these things into view and puts a context there for understanding them. How else could it be, after all? Man is not used to acknowledging your unseen presence, your ever-present assistance, yet his mind wants to put things in order he can understand. So he goes on what he can see. Thank you for revealing yourself. Maybe yourselves? No, okay, yourself to me. Let's stick with one for a while. That would be good. I'd like to get your name again whenever you're ready. I'll write it this time. Okay, now I did get the name, but you don't go revealing the names of your guides. At least I don't want to. Okay, so I say thank you. Is that male or female or other? Other? Okay, other. Thank you. Can we have some sort of signal or way I can clearly know it is you? The others are so wily, they will try to horn in. Not needed? It's internal. Internal communications, literally. Thus, they have absolutely no access to them, as they have no access to heart. Wow, that is some of the best news I've ever heard. That is big, huge. Oh, I love it. Okay, on this note, I'll quit for now. Thank you so very much, dear guide. Thank you so much. More later then. God's blessings to us both and all of life. Heart of my heart, shine where I am. I am so grateful. Here, oh cosmos, I am grateful. Aho. Amen.